Hey, my name is Axelle Carolyn, and this is Wes Craven's New Nightmare. I think that like everybody my age who likes horror movies, I grew up watching Freddy Krueger, or at least being aware of Freddy Krueger. I don't think I'd ever watched the first one until I was like maybe 13 or 14, but I remember hearing about New Nightmare coming out, and I remember it being at this festival in Brussels where I was at the time, and I couldn't go because I wasn't old enough to get in. And I just was obsessed with it, and I was obsessed with that movie specifically. And then I saw the Nightmare on Elm Street series, but completely in the wrong order. I started with 4, and somehow I thought that 4 was amazing. And then I saw 1, and it was almost a disappointment because it wasn't as funny as 4. But then when I finally saw 7, which was the last one I watched, I think, like I'd seen the first 6, I absolutely adored it. It's a total classic.
Mark it, common mark.
I'm doing a film about my nightmares as I'm dreaming them. In order for the movie to continue, it was dependent on me having more nightmares. Well, fortunately, I did.
So Wes Craven's New Nightmare came out 10 years after the original, so it's a return to Wes Craven to the series. And he always said that he didn't like the sequels. There's a line in the movie that says, "When the story dies, the nightmare is set free," which in the movie is supposed to mean that Freddy is not contained in the sequels anymore, so he's set loose. But it also kind of says that the story dies when it becomes too familiar or when it's not scary anymore, which is very much a dig on the sequels. By this point, when he made the film, Freddy had become such a huge phenomenon that Wes Craven chose to do something very clever, which is explore the franchise in a very postmodern way. It's a reflection of the place of Freddy and the first film in film history and pop culture in general. In the movie, Freddy attacks its creators. He attacks Heather Langenkamp and her husband, and Wes Craven, and Robert Englund, and John Saxon, and Bob Shaye. And what's weird is that Lynn Shaye is in there too. She was in the first film, but she plays a nurse. She doesn't play herself for some reason. And it's the script within the script. The story unfolds as Wes writes it in the story, which is kind of like Scream a couple of years later would have a film within the film. It's full of little throwbacks to the first film. Like there's the opening with the claw, and then there's the foam gag, and there's that line, "Screw your past," and there's the line, "Whatever you do, don't fall asleep." There's a streak of white hair in Nancy's hair. There's the babysitter's death who dies like Tina. There's the gooey steps like in the Nightmare in the first one. There's Freddy's stretching arm. All that is right there. We've just seen that there's a shadow that looks like Nosferatu, so the reflection goes beyond just the place of the film within the franchise, but also extends it to other movies and references like Nosferatu, but also Hansel and Gretel and fairy tales, and is really just kind of exploring what Freddy means for people nowadays. There's a lot of crossovers between reality and fiction, which were kind of weird. Like here in the film, Heather Langenkamp has a stalker, and in real life she also did have one. And also there's a lot of stuff about earthquakes in Los Angeles, and it was shot. The scenes of the earthquake were shot 2 weeks before Northridge. So it was one of those weird things of just shooting something and then the same thing happening very soon afterwards. And they shot a lot of pickup shots that they inserted in the film later on.